Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is OG, and today we have the December balance changes released, well, announced. They'll be released tomorrow, I've heard. And there's some pretty impactful stuff, also some minor stuff. So we're gonna cover all of it today in this video, and let's get right into it. Alright guys, we are going to be starting with the buffs, and the most notable buff by far, in my opinion, is Jessie. So Jessie's been super underwhelming for a long while. Everyone kind of rates her as weakest brawler in the game, or at least like bottom 3 in pretty much every mode. I don't know. I love Jessie. She was one of my first 1000s way back in the day, so it's good that she's getting these buffs. So the buffs are the following. So she gets increased main attack projectile speed by 10%, which is going to be really huge for her. One thing about Jessie is her shots are really easy to maneuver, and this will add on to her chain as well, so her chain shots will go even faster, and it's looking like a really solid buff for Jessie. I don't know if it'll solve all the problems, but it is definitely a start, and she did get a minor buff last patch too, I think. So it's good that the dev team aren't just forgetting about her. And then the second buff for Jessie is increased scrappy health from 2800 to 3000, so plus 7%. I don't think that's really what she needed. I would rather Jessie have more HP than her turret, but I'll take any Jessie buff at this point. Like I said, she's one of my favorite brawlers to play, and I'd love for her to come back in the meta. I don't think it's gonna completely make her viable again. At least it's just there's so many Pipers right now, so many Jeans, and they just really can poke her down really easily before she can even hit them. Hopefully this projectile speed will help out a lot. It sounds like it will, so I'm really eager to try out this buff. Alright guys, next up in the buffs we have Ems, whose second star power is getting a 50% increase, so increased hype healing per enemy hit from 200 to 300. This star power right now, it's pretty much useless. You always want to use the first one if you have it, and I just don't really like the concept of the star power, if I'm being 100% honest. It could be good in some modes when you're like all grouped up maybe, but a lot of the times the damage one seems to be the way to go for me. It's because Ems is a really high DPS brawler, and usually you just want to burn people down if you can. So personally, I think I'll still be using the first Ems star power, and Ems is definitely sneaking her way in the meta. She does have a lot of counters, and a lot of smart players can definitely outplay her, but she is very strong in the right situations. So I'm not sure how useful this buff will be, but it is something for the second star power, and it definitely needed it. Alright guys, for the third buff, Pam is going to be receiving an HP buff. So increased health from 4300 to 4500, so roughly around 5%. Pam has definitely found her way out of the meta. She used to be the best brawler in the game multiple times, and she's just really taken a back seat since I think around April is when they gutted her. So it is a small buff, sorry, and I could see some niche picks going on with Pam, but they've taken out a lot of the maps that Pam was good on. Obviously she's good on open maps, and a lot of those don't really come in rotation. We're seeing a lot more narrow maps with smaller lanes, so I think that's a factor why like Jean and Piper become so prevalent, just because it's a quick poke, it's a quick DPS, and I just think it's more of the game right now just doesn't really suit Pam's playstyle. But that's not to say that she doesn't have her maps. She has Factory Rush and even Safe Zone, stuff like that. She's pretty decent on, so hopefully this HP buff let her be a little more tanky to tank some of those shots and just get those damages in. Alright guys, next up, Sandy's first star power is getting a huge buff. Now this is Rude Sands, and it is the incredibly toxic one that when it came out it was just so broken. So it is getting increased damage from 40 to 120 per second, so plus 200%, and oh, I'm not a fan of this star power or this buff. It's one of those star powers that I just was happy it was out of the meta, because it's like really toxic, and I think Sandy was actually he was definitely still a top 10 brawler in my opinion. So I don't know, I feel like there's more deserving characters, but it could be that he's a legendary or something, I don't know to be exact. But it's definitely gonna take over as his better star power, I think. People tend to go for damage over healing on most aggro brawlers, as Sandy is. So it'll definitely fit his playstyle a lot better, and it's just going to be a pain for regenning. So definitely abuse it if you can, if you have it. Otherwise, just avoid it if you can. Just stay away from the sands. Alright, and for the final buff of the balance change, we got Terra, whose first star power, Black Portal pet, is receiving a pretty big buff. So its damage is going from 600 to 800, so plus 33%. Shout out to Coach Corey. I'm literally just like reading his balance changes sheets. But it's not bad. I mean, it's not a bad star power currently. I think it could use an HP buff instead of a damage buff because it does get melted down kind of fast. But I still think the healing star power, in the right situation, the healing star power is just insane. You can get such good value out of it, especially if you get like a team wipe and you get to like position yourself where it's behind you, and then it's just like a backline, like medic that just keeps your squad alive. I'd always take the risk of going for that than something that might go and get like a few hits off. I'm gonna have to test it out because it can be annoying in the right situation, but personally, I think I'm going to be sticking with the healing star power. I love that little healing thing. Alright guys, let's get into the nerfs now. So first off, we have 8-bit. I was so scared when I saw 8-bit nerf. I thought they were going to like gut his kid or something. I really like 8-bit. He's a lot of fun for me, even though he's slow. But it's just his extra life, thankfully. And this nerf is just definitely aimed for showdowning and solo modes. So it is decreased extra life invincibility from 3 to 2 seconds after respawn, which makes a lot of sense. By the time he would get out of his shield, he'd almost have 2 ammo clips and he could just melt people down. So this time, you know, it's not going to be as forgiving as it was. I've been using 8-bit in literally all of my power play like solo modes, and besides Lone Star I use Leon. But I'm undefeated this season in power play, and it's just from in like my showdown and duo showdown, and it's just literally all from 8-bit extra life. So if I can win with those, you know, it's probably a good telling sign that they need to nerf it for showdown because I am atrocious at showdown. So really solid nerf here. I can get behind that 100%. And then the other nerf is going to be Daryl. So they're decreasing Steel Hoop's shield duration from 3.5 to 3 seconds, minus 15%. They seem to like not want to gut Daryl, which I think is good. He is very strong, and I don't know if this is going to fix everything, but we might see more play from his other star power now. We did see some play at the World Cup, but obviously Steel Hoops is the favorite right now. So it's interesting. I don't know if it's going to fix it exactly, but you know, it is going to do something to Daryl, and he needed something done to him. He's just ridiculously strong right now, so I'm happy that they didn't just ignore him like they did Poco. But you know, I think it's a decent balance change. You know, I have to test this one out first, but I think it'll like do something minor. Hopefully he'll still be really strong. He'll still be a top 5 brawler for sure, but it's gonna be something. All right guys, and then just in the other category, I guess we got Heist epic wins. So prior to this, you needed above 80% in Heist power play to get an epic win, and even like myself and like all the other pros that are really good at 3v3 modes, we found it kind of challenging because people could like literally just YOLO to your safe, and you know, they could get 20% depending if they're a Brock, like 4 shots with the star power. So you know, this is a nice change, definitely. So it's from 80% to 60%, and this makes a lot of sense just in contrast to the other modes because the epic wins and gem grab pretty straightforward, same with bounty. So the Heist one is definitely really welcome for me. Alright guys, so I'm just going to go through a few of the changes that I would like to see implemented that weren't today. Unfortunately, this is just my opinion, but the capo really needs the nerf. 800 damage is insane. That's almost as much as like some brawlers like main attack, and Poco has a really like fast reload speed. So I would love to see a capo nerf. Minus like 200 healing I think would be good. 200 to like 300, I don't know. It's just such a problem right now, and there's just so much sustain in the Poco tank comps, especially Rosa and Daryl. You know, they have their shields, and Rosa has that HP ability too, so I would love to see a decapo nerf in future balance changes. Next up, I would love to see a Penny mortar nerf. Now to compensate for this, I would definitely recommend that Penny would get some kind of buff to her kit, not her mortar's kit. Her mortar is way too strong in my opinion. Ever since I got the fire star power, it's just so much area denial, and 1680 is way too much damage for me. That two shots the squishy brawlers, and you know, I don't think that's really reasonable for something that can snipe you when you're in a bush halfway across the map. You always have to be on your toes if it's out on the field, so I would love to see them nerf the damage and the range on the Penny mortar. Damage to around 1200, just so it's like a little more pokey. 1200 is still a ton of damage, but it would need 3 shots to get rid of the squishies, and you know, it'd be a little more forgiving. And also the range by like 10 or 15%, because it is just way too far. It covers the entire map, and it is just such a game changer if you can get a Penny mortar out. Now to compensate, I would like an HP buff on Penny, maybe 3 to 4%, and then maybe a reload speed too, just so she could spam a few more shots. But nothing too serious. Those are just my 2 balance changes that I wish were implemented as well in this patch. Alright guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Let me all know what you think of the balance changes. Overall, I think they're decent. The meta is definitely not in the worst place that it's been before. It's fairly balanced. It's just the Poco tank comps really they bug me. They get under my skin sometimes, but besides that, I can't be too harsh. They've done a really good job balancing, and I am so thankful for the curveball nerf. It seems like right before the World Cup, they understood like what needed to be done and what like had to be nerfed, what had to be buffed, and they did a really phenomenal job on doing that. So props to the balancing team. They've definitely been stepping it up as of recent, and I'm really looking forward to the Christmas update. And I've heard some rumors about brawlers being released, so definitely eager to get my hands on new brawlers. Let me know what you guys think of the balance changes in the comments, and what you think of my balance changes, well, my nerfs, and if they're good, if you would implement them or not. Anyways guys, thank you so much for checking out the video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.